They win the Super Bowl, and they only made about 19 moves to get a lot better this offseason. Jeff Chadiha. Has anybody done enough in the offseason to close the gap? And let's talk about AFC teams to close the gap on the Patriots.
I will go with Pittsburgh. I'm not going to pick them to unseat New England right now, but I will say having Martavis Bryant back, not an addition, but a nice addition, coming back from suspension.
All right.
And that when he's with that offense, they are different. The speed, the length, what he does as far as helping Antonio Brown, the weapon down the field he gives Ben Roethlisberger, it's a different offense. And we forget a couple years ago when they went to the playoffs and lost to Denver in the second round, they lost Antonio Brown. Martavis Bryant had a huge game against Cincinnati, and that team was primed to be a player last year. So when they lost him, that was a big loss. So getting him back, hearing what I'm hearing about his maturity and the way he's been performing in mini camps and OTA so far, I like their chances of being that team.
You like the chance of being that team just in comparison.
Give them the best shot of trying to beat New England. That's what we're going to say.
There we go. Anybody, is anybody going to say that someone can at least threaten?
Well, the real answer is no. I don't think anybody can threaten them. For the sake of this conversation, I'll say the Raiders, who we've talked about Marshawn Lynch joining the roster. But don't forget, last year, midway, three-quarters of the way through the regular season, they were vying for the best record in the AFC. That was before Derek Carr got hurt. To me, that is the key to anybody having a chance at unseating the Patriots is, can you get the AFC championship game out of Foxborough?
Yeah, I think the answer is no. In fact, I think the other AFC East teams at least have a clock on the wall just waiting for it to expire on Tom Brady's NFL career. I mean, you were talking about a Patriots team since 2009. They've won the division, of course, ever since. 37-11.
That's unbelievable.
Against the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins. And the time that Rex... Remember Rex, he actually did have some success against the Patriots. He couldn't get anyone else to beat him, so he was a lone wolf in that. So it's one of those where it's almost the impossible. And we talked earlier in the program about the Jets rebuilding. They might as well, given what they're looking up at in the division.
But quickly, to the point you made, the Patriots' success within a division, is that more of a testament to them or the weakness of the other three teams?
It's a good question. I think there's a mix there. And I also think, and I always believe this, and I will always believe it, there's also a psychological part to this. They've won so often. Now, they're better on the field, and they beat the teams. I'm not suggesting they use trickery. But these three other teams know that it's an almost impossible task.
It's Mike Tyson getting in the ring with Mike Tyson back in the 80s when you knew you were going to get knocked out at some point. You just were afraid of how bad you were going to look. But I do think we forget what happened in the Super Bowl. And Atlanta exposed New England in some ways we haven't seen in a long, long time. They were up 25 points, largely because of the way they were playing offense, the way they were running past New England. So if there is hope for any team out there in the AFC is to look at that tape and see what they were doing.
But Jeff, that's, to me, the moves that the Patriots have made are in response to that. Bill Belichick said for 2.5 quarters, we were getting lit up.
It's almost like they lost.
So they went there. They added Coney Ealy. They added Stephon Gilmore. Mike Gillislee in the backfield. This guy's a horse. I mean, I can't believe Buffalo let him get out of there, Judy.
You know, it's interesting you said that because I talked to an executive from another AFC team who said, look how they've won their last 2 Super Bowls. It was really because the opponents blew it, right? Seattle at the goal line and then the Falcons, we know what happened there. You do wonder if it's in the opponents' heads when they get into a Super Bowl. But I agree with you. I think Belichick realized that they were vulnerable. They have the Lombardi trophy in their pocket, but they were vulnerable, and they put their foot on the gas this year. I think they opened the gap, and to me, that has to be so demoralizing if you're another team in the AFC.
I'm not going to concede. I mean, look, I think the Patriots are the team to beat, but I'm not going to concede the conference to them. I think there's still some good teams. Kansas City, we really don't know. I mean, they've lost some playmakers, but they're such a well-coached team. We don't know how that whole Alex Smith Mahomes thing is going to work out. But I'm with you, Judy, the Raiders. And part of that, besides covering this team a lot and seeing them last year, is I spoke to DeMarcus Ware of the Broncos and Emmanuel Sanders, both of them. We did a show here during the playoffs. And they both said that if Derek Carr were healthy, they would have had a shot to go up to Foxborough and put something on the Patriots because of the pressure they put on teams offensively. Now they're trying to tighten some things up defensively. They still have a ways to go. But if Oakland can somehow get them into that stadium that Marshawn Lynch just called a very colorful name, if they can get them out to the Oakland Coliseum, I think that would be a very interesting ball game.
That would be. That would be the most compelling we could get this year. But I go back to that Super Bowl and the great sound we got from NFL Films. everyone else thought they were out of it at 28-3, except them. Mm-hmm. And that's where not only the physical part, the coaching, everything that we can kind of touch and feel comes into it, but so does that mental approach of they know they can always win, and they almost always do. It seems. Not always in the Super Bowl, but in that game.
You mentioned the division has basically been the Patriots' own,
yeah.
But the Dolphins, none of us in the NFL people we spoke to have heard a negative thing about the way Adam Gase has got that team in contention, the way he's coached them, the way he's built them, the way he's made Ryan Tannehill into a better player. Do the Dolphins, of all the teams in that division, pose the biggest threat to at least chip into it? Or is it still going to be more of the same?
If you phrase it that way, yes. They have the best chance. I do like what Gase has done. I do believe what they've done defensively and the growth of Tannehill are nice things, Jay Ajayi. But, it's hard just because of what Kim just said. I think psychologically you have to get yourself to a place where you have to have enough swagger to deal with this team. It's not just about just having talent. It's about having a mentality that Denver had 2 years ago when they played them. Yep. It's about the mentality that Atlanta had in the first half of the Super Bowl last year, the sense of, like, we just aren't going to look for a shot and a chance. We're better than this team. Yep. We can beat this team.
Well,
and I don't know if Miami can get there.
And the Giants teams way back when that beat them both called it before the game.
Exactly.
They had players doing that before the game.
Yep.
Trash talk, whatever you want to call it, but they ended up being right. That's how that Giants team approached them.
Okay, do we have any sleepers out here? Not necessarily to challenge the Patriots, but to make the AFC interesting, to kind of come out of somewhere and say, all right, this is a team right now that we have to at least pay attention to because they're making hay. Is there any team you can think of?
Well, I think Tennessee could make it interesting.
Yep.
I don't think they can challenge the Patriots realistically this year, but I like Marcus Mariota a lot, and I think they're a team on the rise. So I think they're going to be a fun team to watch over the next few years, but not there yet.
I still like Houston. And I get that the quarterback's a question there. We'll see what Deshaun Watson ends up doing. They get J.J. Watt back. That's obviously an enormous loss. And that defense was already pretty good. So we'll see. I still like the Texans.
Yeah, the Bengals have a lot of talent. And for some reason, we forget about them because they had a tough year last year. Yeah. But 2 years ago, they were primed, and they've made some nice moves in the offseason, some nice draft picks. So a lot of speed, a lot of talent, some veterans there, and some swagger. So they got a chance to
I'm going way off the grid here. I've said it before. I think a team we need to pay attention to playing in a 30,000-seat stadium, a new stadium, the Los Angeles Chargers. I think Anthony Lynn, that coaching staff he's put together with Gus Bradley and some of the talent that they've assembled there, again, they might not contend, but I think they're going to be a team that's going to be fun to watch and a team that's going to make it interesting in the AFC.
Stevie, think of the conversation we're having, though. Here are the Patriots, and then every question and every answer is, well, when the bar's here or here, I love these guys.
Right.
And they're way up here looking down.
Looking down. Oh, well, that's where we are, Andrew. We have conceded the AFC to the Patriots.